I want you to picture a scenario. It's maybe 2:00 a.m. You're in your bed in London or perhaps Dallas or Perth. The house is quiet, you're fast asleep,
Hmm.
and suddenly that really aggressive buzzing sound on your nightstand just jolts you awake. You know the one.
Ooh,
You
frequently.
ignore it for a second, right? You're hoping it's a wrong number. But it buzzes again and again, and your stomach just drops.
It's that Pavlovian response, isn't it? Do you know before you even look at the screen that it's probably not good news?
Exactly. You grab the phone, you're squinting against the blue light, and there it is, the WhatsApp message from back home in Zimbabwe. Amai is not feeling well. We are at the clinic. They need $200 for admission and tests.
And the adrenaline kicks in?
Instantly. You don't think, you don't even ask questions. You just open your remittance app, World Remit, SendWave, whatever you use, and you fire off the money.
That's an immediate, instinctive reaction.
And then 5 minutes later, you put the phone down feeling, oh yeah, well, you usually feel like you've solved the problem. You stepped up, you provided. But today, we're doing a deep dive into some research that argues something pretty uncomfortable about that exact moment. The argument is that what you just did, sending money when someone is already at the clinic, isn't actually healthcare.
It's a hard pill to swallow, but technically,
Ugh.
no, that is not healthcare.
It's not.
That is crisis response.
Crisis response.
Yes, and the distinction between healthcare and crisis response, it isn't just semantics. It's the difference between buying a fire extinguisher and rebuilding a house that's already burned down.
Okay.
Today, we're unpacking why the Zimbabwean diaspora's current model of caring from afar is, well, fundamentally broken, and more importantly, how we might actually fix it.
This feels like the core of the diaspora dilemma. You know, you send money for groceries, you pay the school fees, you buy the solar panels, you think you have all your bases covered, but then the medical emergency hits and it feels like it came completely out of nowhere.
See, that's the first misconception we really need to clear up. To you, getting that text in London, it feels sudden. It feels like a lightning strike. But biologically, it is almost never out of nowhere.
So what's actually happening? Because if my mom is fine on Monday and in the hospital on Tuesday, that feels pretty sudden to me.
Let's look at the biology of the most common issues in this demographic. We're talking hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. These aren't viruses you catch on a bus. They are progressive conditions.
Okay.
Think of hypertension like termites in the foundation of a house. You don't see them. You don't hear them. For 5, maybe 10 years, the house looks perfectly fine from the street.
But the whole structure is quietly rotting away.
Exactly. The pressure is causing these micro tears in the blood vessels, in the kidneys, in the eyes, in the heart, day after day. When that sudden crisis hits, the stroke, the kidney failure, that is just the moment the wall finally collapsed. The damage is a decade old.
That is a terrifying image. But it really explains why sending that 2:00 a.m. money can feel so futile sometimes. You're just paying to fix the collapse, not the termites.
And that brings us to the first major structural flaw in this whole system, late detection. The system back home is largely reactive, so people only go to the clinic when they feel pain. But here's the kicker.
What's that?
High blood pressure doesn't hurt. Early-stage diabetes doesn't hurt. So people wait. They wait until the symptoms are catastrophic.
And by the time that WhatsApp message gets to you, the bill isn't for a simple checkup. It's for an emergency admission, stabilization, a ton of specialized tests.
And the outcomes are worse. You're paying premium prices for the worst possible scenarios. It's the most expensive way to stay alive.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate for a second. I know a lot of people listening will say, well, I don't just wait for emergencies. When I was home last Christmas, I took mom to the pharmacy. They checked her pressure. It was fine. Isn't that prevention?
That is definitely better than nothing. But it falls into what we call the myth of the single number.
Why is it a myth? If the number's good, it's good. Right.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Imagine you go to a clinic and get a reading. Let's say it's 140/90. A bit elevated. The nurse writes it on a slip of paper. You go home.
Yeah.
That number, in total isolation, tells us almost nothing.
Nothing.
Context is everything in medicine.
Yeah.
Is that 140/90 coming down from 180/110 because a medication was working? Or is it shooting up from 120/80 last week because of stress or diet? Without the trend, without the movie, not just the snapshot, you are flying completely blind.
And that must connect to the other issue the research brings up, the fragmented records problem.
Or, as I like to call it, the scrap of paper syndrome. This is the reality on the ground. You go to the doctor, they take your vitals, they write it on a loose sheet, or maybe in a little exercise book you carry around.
Oh, I know that book. It's usually dog-eared and stuffed in a drawer somewhere.
Right. And then you lose the book. Or you go to a different clinic 3 months later because it's closer. The new doctor has zero history. They don't know your baseline. They don't know what meds you reacted badly to 5 years ago. They are starting from scratch every single time.
So there's absolutely no continuity.
None. It's just a series of disconnected panic moments. And this fragmentation is incredibly dangerous. It leads to what we see with medication adherence. A patient gets put on blood pressure meds, they take them for 2 weeks, they feel better. Because remember, the disease was silent anyway, but maybe the headaches stopped.
So they think, I'm cured.
Exactly. And they stop taking the pills because nobody explained that hypertension is for life.
And nobody's tracking them. 6 months later, you get that 2.0 a.m. phone call.
Precisely.
It really highlights the emotional toll, doesn't it, on the sender. We talk about the money, the $200 here, the $500 there, but the research touches on the anxiety of distance.
The diaspora dilemma.
Yeah, you're sitting in your apartment in the UK just relying on these secondhand updates. How is she? Oh, she's a bit better. What does a bit better even mean clinically?
It means nothing. You're operating on feelings, not data. You feel helpless until the crisis hits, and then you feel panicked. You're essentially just a bank account waiting for a withdrawal request, rather than an active participant in their health.
Ouch. A bank account waiting for a withdrawal request, but it feels so accurate. So, okay, we've established the problem. The current system is reactive, blind to trends, it relies on scraps of paper, and it waits for the house to catch fire.
Correct.
So what's the alternative? We can't just fly home every month to check on them ourselves.
Well, if you look at the flaws, the solution starts to design itself. If the problem is distance and travel, the solution has to be mobile. If the problem is scraps of paper, the solution has to be digital. And if the problem is crisis cost, the solution must be a fixed, predictable model.
And this is where we get into the model proposed by Yana Health. They've basically built a system around those exact counterpoints.
They have. Their entire philosophy is a pivot from send money when sick to pay to stay well.
Let's talk about the logistics first, because that's often the deal breaker. My grandmother lives somewhere where getting to a clinic is a half-day mission. It's walking, a bus, waiting in line. If she's feeling okay, she's not going to do that.
And that is exactly why Yanai developed the Diagnostic on Wheels.
The Dow.
The Dow. And it's not just a catchy name. It addresses the single biggest barrier to preventative care, logistics. Instead of waiting for your grandmother to travel to the clinic comes to her.
Paint me a picture. What does that look like?
It's a mobile unit, equipped vehicles or nurses with specialized kits that navigates the potholes and the rural roads to get to where people actually live. They do the screenings right there. Blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol, the works.
So there's no excuse. You can't say, oh, the bus didn't come.
Exactly. The doctor's at the gate. It makes the checkup unavoidable in the best possible way. And because they're doing this proactively, they are gathering real data on what's happening in the community. And I have to tell you, the numbers they're finding they're alarming.
Lay it on us. What are we looking at?
Among their current client base, so these are people's parents and grandparents, 52% have hypertension.
Over half.
More than 1 in 2. And remember, for many of them, they would never have known until the event. 24% have diabetes, and 37% have high-risk cholesterol patterns.
Wow. That 52% stat is wild.
Okay.
If you walk into a room of elderly relatives, you're saying half of them are walking around with a ticking time bomb and might not even know it.
Or they know it, but they aren't managing it correctly because of that scrap paper issue. And this is where the Yanai model really shifts the financial conversation.
Right, the cost. Because we're used to paying when the bill comes. How does this work?
It moves from erratic, catastrophic spending to a subscription model. The average premium is around USD 60 per month.
$60. Okay. Now, I can hear some listeners pausing there. Another monthly bill. I'm already paying for Netflix, Spotify, school fees.
It's a valid reaction. But you have to do the math on the alternative. You're either paying $60 a month for proactive management, or you're risking a $5,000 emergency bill that you have to find in 24 hours.
It's predictable financial protection versus complete financial chaos.
It's risk management.
Yeah.
But you're not just buying insurance. You're not just betting against something bad happening. You are paying for a service. You're paying for that nurse to show up. You're paying for the medication optimization.
And does it actually work? I mean, I've paid for things before that promised the world and delivered. Not much.
This is the part of the research that really impressed me. It isn't just a theory. They have hard data on outcomes. The statistic that just jumps out is this. Of the clients who received this optimized treatment and structured follow-up for at least 1 year,
Okay.
78% showed improvement or normalization in at least one key health parameter.
78%. That seems incredibly high for chronic disease. Usually you just assume these things get worse with age.
That's the default assumption, isn't it? That getting older just means getting sicker. But this proves that decline isn't inevitable. If you actually catch the hypertension, if you actually adjust the medication when it stops working, if you track the diet, people get better. Their numbers stabilize, the risk of a stroke plummets.
So you're buying health, not just healthcare.
You are buying time. And for the Diaspora family member, you are buying visibility.
Talk to me about that, because we mentioned that blindness of being so far away. How does this solve that?
This is one of the highest rated features in their user surveys. I think it was 66% of clients said this was their favorite part. It's a smart health report.
And is this just a photocopy of the doctor's notes? Because I can never read that handwriting anyway.
No. This is designed for you, the person paying the bill. It translates all that complex medical data, the trends, the logs, the lab results, into a clear digital dashboard. It solves the lost in translation problem.
So instead of asking my mom, how are you? And she says, I'm fine, because she doesn't want to worry me.
You get a report that says, blood pressure is stable at 125/80, down from 140/90. Medication adherence is 100%. Next visit is scheduled for Tuesday. It's objective truth.
That is huge. That is peace of mind that you can actually look at. You don't have to guess anymore.
It bridges the geography. You become a partner in their care, not just the financier. You can see the trend lines yourself.
I have to ask the cynical question, though. Even with the best prevention in the world, the diagnostic on wheels, the smart reports people do get sick. Emergencies still happen. If my mom has a fall or gets severe pneumonia, does this $60 cover that? Or am I back to square one?
It's a crucial question. A prevention model that ignores acute crisis would be incomplete. So Yanai includes acute inpatient cover in the package, which is underwritten by Golden Knot Financial Holdings.
So there is a safety net.
There is a backstop. It's designed to prevent financial ruin during a hospitalization. And the key thing here is that often insurance companies don't want to touch elderly people with pre-existing conditions. If you try to get new insurance for a 70-year-old with hypertension, good luck.
It's either prohibitively expensive or just flat out denied.
Right. But because Yanai is actively managing the condition, because they are doing the prevention, they can integrate that insurance. It creates a closed loop. You pay to stay well, but if you do get sick, you're covered.
It just seems like such a logical shift from being a firefighter to being an architect. Instead of rushing in with a hose every time there's a spark, you build a house that doesn't catch fire so easily.
That is the perfect analogy, and it changes the whole psychology of the relationship. It just removes the panic.
You know, thinking back to our intro, that 2:10 a.m. call, we've sort of accepted that anxiety as the tax of leaving home. Like, if you move abroad, the price you pay is just constantly worrying about your parents.
It has become normalized, yeah. We assume that distance equals helplessness.
Yeah.
But this model suggests that distance just requires a different system.
So let's wrap this up. If you're listening to this and you have that remittance app on your home screen, what is the main takeaway here?
I think it comes down to redefining what it means to be a good son or a good daughter.
Go on.
Sending money when a crisis hits is an act of love. Let's be very clear about that. It's heroic in that moment. You're saving the day.
Mm-hmm.
But building a system to prevent that crisis in the first place, that is an act of foresight.
And foresight is always cheaper than hindsight.
Always. And it saves more lives. The hard truth is that doing nothing, just sticking to the current wait-and-see model, is not a neutral act. It's a decision.
It's a decision to gamble.
It is. It's a decision to risk silent disease progression. It's a decision to accept late diagnosis. It's a decision to wait for the trauma.
That's heavy, but looking at those stats, that 52% hypertension rate, it's the reality. By not having a system, you are betting against the house, and the house usually wins.
And for roughly the price of a dinner out in London or New York, you aren't just buying medical tests. You are buying the ability to sleep through the night without fearing the phone buzzing. You are breaking the cycle of panic.
Breaking the cycle. I like that. We spend so much time trying to earn enough to solve problems back home, but maybe it's time we spend a little bit to prevent them?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I want to leave all of you with a question to mull over. We know that crisis response costs more money. We know it saves fewer lives. We know it causes more stress. So, why do we still wait for the WhatsApp message to start caring?
That really is the question.
Why does it take a crisis to trigger our support when steady support could prevent the crisis entirely? Something to think about next time you open that app to send cash. Thanks for diving in with us.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.